Nothing shouts pure comfort like a warm bowl of chowder, and this Creole corn chowder won't disappoint. It's hearty and creamy and can be eaten just as it is or poured over rice or even baked potatoes. Put a comment below if you try this dish and tell me what you think. We're going to start off with our corn, some medium diced potatoes. We also have larger chunks of potatoes and carrots. We also have mushrooms and chickpeas. Next, we have both vegetable broth and water, onions, bell pepper, red bell pepper, celery, finely diced carrots, green onions, and garlic. And finally, we have garlic powder, onion powder, poultry seasoning, smoked paprika, Tony Chachere's Lite, Creole seasoning, Italian seasoning, cayenne pepper, a bay leaf. We have our Better Than Bouillon, and this is the organic one. And then finally, the nutritional yeast. And all of the ingredients are listed in the description below. Let's get started. Now this recipe has several steps. The first step is to get my sauce ready. So I've already boiled some water, and the amount of water is listed below. Then I'm going to add in the chunks of potatoes, the carrots, and the Better Than Bouillon. Bring that back to a boil and let that cook until the potatoes and the carrots are tender. Okay, while the potatoes and carrots are boiling, let's get our mirepoix taken care of. First, we're going to start with the onions. And I usually start with a nice hot skillet. It's on medium-low. Bell pepper. Red bell pepper. That adds such a pretty color. Celery. And carrots. Oh, look how beautiful this is. I'm going to stir this around on a medium-low fire. And this is going to take about 10 minutes as usual. This will cook down. It creates its own oils. You can see that sort of at the bottom of the pot. Look at that. So it's no need to add extra oil. I'm going to let this cook uncovered, stirring periodically, and we will be back in about maybe 8 minutes or so, just before we get ready to put in the garlic. All right, it's been going for about 8 minutes, and I notice that it is starting to stick just a little bit right in the center. So whenever that happens, I just grab a couple of tablespoons. See right there? A couple of tablespoons of broth, and that'll loosen things up a little bit. We got about 2 more minutes before we add in the garlic. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. Now I'm going to add in the garlic. We're going to saute this for about a minute. Not too long, because we really do not want the garlic to burn. Just want to get that flavor all over the place and get it lightly toasted. And this is going to go for about a minute. All right. Now don't forget to check on your potatoes and carrots. You just want that to be where they are tender so that we can get to that step. But right now what I'm going to do is add about a half cup of broth. And we're going to stir this around. And then at this point, I am going to add in the mushrooms. I'm going to let this cook for a couple of minutes. before we add in all the seasonings. That looks so good. And those mushrooms are going to cook down a lot. Okay, that's been going for a couple of minutes. And now I'm going to add in all the seasoning, including the bay leaf. The only thing that I'm not going to add here is the nutritional yeast, because that's going to go in the blender when I make the sauce. Okay, I'm going to stir this around. Nice, and it smells so good in here. You are going to feel so accomplished once you've made this dish, because this is actually one of my favorites. Just let that stir around, and I'm going to kind of flatten it down just a little bit in there before I add in more liquid. Just let that cook for about 30 seconds, and then I'll continue to stir it. And this process before I add in the liquid will take about a minute, minute and a half. All right, look at what we have here. Now at this point, let's add in the corn, all except for 1 cup, because I'm going to use 1 cup of the corn to make the sauce as well. I'm going to add in the corn and vegetable broth. I'm going to keep out about a cup to use in case I need it to be a little bit thinner. And as I mentioned before, all of the ingredients and the measurements are listed in the description. Oh my goodness, this looks so good. And just stir that around. Then I'm gonna put this on a low flame, and I'm gonna let this simmer for about 10 minutes. And then I'll go over to the blender and get the sauce prepared. Now the next step is to blend together some of the ingredients. This is everything that was in the pot. We have our water, bedded in bouillon, some potatoes and carrots. And to that, I'm gonna add 1 cup of the corn, a 1/2 cup of the garbanzo beans. I'm just dropping everything. And then the nutritional yeast. I'm gonna blend that together. All right, this is what makes the thick sauce for the chowder. See how that looks? I blended that for about 8 seconds, and now I'm gonna pour this in the mixture. All right, this has been going for a while. And now I'm gonna pour in the mixture that was in the blender, and that's gonna serve as a thickener for the chowder. It'll also be like the sauce. So I'm gonna pour that in here. Oh yes, everything smells so good in here. I'm gonna stir that. And to this, I'm going to add the rest of the garbanzo beans, just a few, to give it a few little pops of garbanzo beans as you eat it. And then I'm gonna add in the potatoes. Get my other one. And then we're just gonna fold that together until that mixture gets nice and warm. And we're gonna put this on low, and this will cook for about 30 minutes. And then we are going to have some Creole corn chowder. Oh, it smells good, it looks good, and I promise you, this is certainly going to taste good. Now, this is what you're going to see when it's been cooking for a while. It's almost done. Make sure that you stir it periodically while it's cooking, because this will stick because of the thickness of the sauce. So kind of get underneath there and stir it really well. My pot's running over just a little bit, so make sure that whatever pot or skillet you use is large enough for the amount that I have in the bottom as far as the measurements are concerned. But look at this. Look how nice. Usually I'll tilt it a little so you can see everything, but I certainly don't want this to spill. But look at that Creole corn chowder. It tastes as good as it looks. And then the final step is to add the green onions. I'm gonna just stir those around. And now it's gonna cook for about 5 more minutes. And it is ready to serve. You can eat this over baked potatoes, over rice, or just in a bowl as a corn chowder all by itself. That's the way I like to eat it. Creole corn chowder. Enjoy.